Welcome back to Curatorial Knits. This is a knitting podcast or vlog all about the choices that we make as we create beautiful things with yarn and needles. My name is Lily and I'm an art curator based in Northern California, and I'm a knitter who really loves talking about all of the aesthetic decision makings that flow into my knitting practice and my projects that I create. I am so excited to be here today. It is a gloomy day here in Northern California. We had our fall spring, then we had almost a fall summer, then a big week of kind of gloom and rain, and then a beautiful weekend, and then today it was completely socked in. When we woke up, it was hard to even see the foothills of the Berkeley Hills here in the East Bay. But I will say that the sun seems to have peeked out for a moment, and so I thought it was a great time to hop on and film a podcast to check in. There's a lot that is off my needles. There are a couple big projects still on my needles, and then I have a ton to talk about in terms of dream knitting, plans, and I am absolutely eager for inspiration from you all. I adore our comment community. If this is your first time watching, please do check out all of the beautiful comments that people include down below on this and my other videos. It's just an incredible love fest of fiber and color, and it's where I see some of my most kind of keen inspiration and where I find that. So please let me know what you're working on as you're watching today, or what you're planning, or what you're looking forward to in your knits. I have a lot of things like swirling in my mind in terms of what I want to put on my needles next, and I'm really looking forward to this space and conversation and trying to help kind of figure that out. But first we can talk about what's off my needles, including what I'm wearing, which I so love, and you'll hear more about this soon. I'm back in my Nutiden phase. This yarn is just such an incredible, magical expression, and I really, really love it, and I want to talk more about possibilities with it. And I guess I should just dive right in. I do a very standard kind of knitting podcast format. I will try to put the all the description, in the description box below, you'll find all of the details about each garment and the yarn that I use to create it, the pattern, and any other links and doodads. I also have some B-roll of the two finished objects, so I'll include those. And I just took a couple photos of a work in progress, but we'll talk about that later so you could see up close some really amazing details. Okay, so starting again, with what I'm wearing. This is the Stornoway sweater, and this is a pattern by Cocoamor knitwear, and I kind of stumbled upon it because of the podcasts of Those Twins Who Knit and Casey from Young Folk Knits. They did a Stornoway KAL, and I just loved seeing the versions pop up on Instagram for this, and I really wanted to jump in. I also was really keen to cast this project on because I had been working with Nutiden held single, and I really wanted to work with more Nutiden, have that on my needles again. And this is not deep stash, but I hadn't purchased any more of the yarn. So Nutiden is by an amazing company called Honor Au Air, who do small batches of each colorway per season, and those small batches come and then they're gone. And so I think that for me, I got kind of wrapped up sometimes in the fact that they were one-offs, and I did quite a bit of purchasing in 2023. So if you go back a couple years in my podcast life, you will definitely see a lot of Nutiden coming in to my stash, and now I had this incredible pairing. And I looked it up. The kind of tawny, light brown beige is called Interval. And the darker blue, I believe, is Oneg. And I will double check that and put it down below. And please forgive my pronunciation of both of those. As I said, I was keen to try using the Nutiden held single or potentially held double. My gauge was pretty all over the place in comparison with the pattern. I was just really looking for an easy, big, oversized knit. That's how it is modeled and how it's designed to fit. And I found that when this yarn blocked, it opened up so much. I actually made a kind of fun little video of the sweater unblocked and then blocked. I'll see if I can pop that in here so you can check it out. It's a really dramatic transformation. And so I knew that I wasn't going to be completely on, but I wanted this oversized fit, and so I made the second size. I also didn't end up holding the Nutiden single based on the kind of fabric that I wanted after doing a couple swatches. Instead, the blue is actually held double, and then holding the Interval single was a little too thin, but holding it double was going to be a really, really dense fabric. So what I ended up doing was going back to holding it with a mohair. So this is one strand of the Isaïr silk mohair in color number 2, held with the Interval. So I love this thing. I really was kind of happy that it was a bit of a gloomy day today because it gave me a chance to pull this out again. I think it's kind of, as you'll see from my next finished object, it's really interesting having like the two sides of spring, like the kind of still not quite warm enough and we need a cozy layer and it's really blustery out and I need something to protect me from that cold wind layer, and then my other spring knit is kind of the opposite. I'm definitely overshot the sleeve length because my row gauge was off, but I really was looking for, I wanted to get 5 repeats of the blue band here, and so that means that my sleeve is quite long. I can definitely go back and fix it, but I kind of don't think I will. I'm really enjoying this longer sleeve. My one thing I'm not sure it might end up bothering me is that it does kind of mean that the you get these kind of mounds from the texture, so this isn't as stretched out the way that it is in the front, or it's not as flat, I should say. The textured rounds kind of poof up a little bit, but I'm not sure I really mind that. I'm really into the decreases as well. I think that worked out really nicely. So it's still quite wide going down, but it's really easy to kind of hold up if I'm doing dishes, doing bath time, whatever it is. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say about it. Oh, I also made one change in my own sweater pattern. I do a collar pickup with a pearl bump edge, and I just think that looks so nice. I added it into this one as well, and I really love it. I should weigh this. It feels light as a feather. I will say, like, just the amazing kind of warmth to weight ratio of Nutiden is mind-boggling, and I'm not overheated in it. It feels like it's really stable but airy at the same time. I just think the magic of this yarn is so amazing, and I'm so glad to be kind of returning to it. And as I said, we'll talk more about kind of some new Nutiden and old Nutiden that is back in my life and what might come of that next. My next finished object is my Alpine Bloom / Autumn Alpine mashup. This is by sorry, Caitlin Hunter, sorry, Boyland Knitworks, Caitlin Hunter, and I do have quite a few mods to this pattern. The first is that I used the cast on and the neckline for the Alpine bloom, which is the t-shirt version, but I believe the chart is nearly identical, but there's either 1 or 2 stitches that are different. I did buy both versions of the pattern, and I ended up using just the way it was written was a little bit more clear on the autumn Alpine, so that is the chart that I used. And then the main thing I did is I split for sleeves before the chart was finished. So it doesn't look like much. It's about 2 inches here of difference, and it makes a really, really big shift in, for me, the wearability of the garment. I think if my yoke came down further onto the arms, it would just be harder for me to wear the piece. I also made a shift in the ribbing. I wanted to mimic, or not mimic, I guess to allude back to the lace that was on the collar. And so I just did some yarn over, sorry, I'm gonna make friends with it and see if that allows me to hold this up better. Yes, okay. So I just added yarn overs into the ribbing, and I think it's so pretty. I genuinely love it, and I did it on the sleeves as well. So I just did 1 round on the sleeves and 3 rounds of the yarn overs into the ribbing on the hem. And yeah, I think that it's probably a very easy standard thing to do, but I did it in the moment, and so it made me feel quite like, oh, what an elegant solution. I was quite pleased with myself, if I'm going to be super honest. I also think it looks fantastic. I'll put in a B-roll of me wearing the piece. The yarn I used, this is the, Kashgora by Cashmere People's Yarn, which is all hand spun, and it is so beautiful. This was a real kind of treat yarn that I found, and I actually thought I was going to need more, and I didn't end up needing it. So I actually have a whole unused skein of this yarn as well as like a teeny little bit of my last skein. So I'm looking for a fun project to use this. I might even do just like a very simple scarf or headband or shawl or something for it. But the drape is amazing. The hand feel is so beautiful. I think I mentioned last time that I was a little nervous about my stitches because there's a lot of thin to thick moments in the yarn. It's not a super consistent spin, but I think it actually ended up working out really beautifully. You can see there's a little bit of kind of nubbiness, I would say, but because of the drape, I think it moves really beautifully, and that'll be a lot harder to kind of pick out. The contrast color is all SpinCycle's color called Fine Line, which I completely micromanaged, took apart multiple balls and then created a fade that I wanted that would correspond with the chart. So starts off with the pinks, goes into greens for the leaves, and then back into pinks, and then a very, very light pink. I actually ended up using scrap SpinCycle for the center line that I think it's maybe from Every Rose, which was another SpinCycle like scrap that I had that was just this big, which was a very light green and light pink for that center line here, and then went back out again. So I really did play and kind of mess around. A lot of spit splicing went into this piece. And then I also used scrap mohair, which I think really helped both in creating the really gradual gradation of the fade and gave me also another element of color to play with. So because when I was shifting the color of the when the color of the SpinCycle shifted more dramatically, I made sure to keep the mohair the same, and then that helped bridge that gap. And then the opposite was also true, right? So when I was switching out my mohair colors, I was doing that at a point where the SpinCycle was staying fairly consistent for that round or couple rounds of the chart. So I'm really happy with the end results of this, and I will also say that I think that for me, the modification of splitting for sleeves sooner is kind of necessary to my happiness with the project. I don't think I would have been as thrilled with it if I just didn't have as much mobility in the piece. So love, 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 so springy. I'm almost kind of tempted to throw it on now. Yeah, I'll be right back, just a second. Okay, I'm back. So now you can really see how, first of all, I think the lace on the collar for me lies really quite nicely. I'm really happy with the way that that came out. I did block it with some pins up top just to create that nice scalloped edge. And then this is the key for me, right? Like if my arm split was way down here, it just would not have been as usable a garment for me. But it's really fun to see all that color work all kind of splayed out so nicely. So maybe I'll keep this on for the rest of our journey. The sun seems to be staying out, which is also so lovely. Next up, let's talk. I really have two main whips right now. The first is my second version, but it is not for me, of the Curator Sweater, which is my first sweater design and which is actively in testing right now and has been truly one of the most impactful and beautiful parts of my knitting journey. I cannot believe that 30 of you amazing humans are walking alongside me and working through this sweater together. A few folks are already done. Actually, a number of folks are already done. They look fantastic. I have so much gratitude. I just want to say I have so much gratitude, and I'm so honored by the support of this community for this design. And I'm just so happy y'all love it. Like, people are just going off in my DMs. My testers are obsessed with the shoulder fit, and it's exactly what I had hoped. It is exactly what I had hoped. Even folks who were very open about, oh, I'm a little bit nervous. Am I sure that this is going to lay correctly? Have been DMing me saying like, it works. I don't know how it works, but it works. And just their enthusiasm then just makes me even more excited. So as I mentioned last time, my second sample for this is actually going to be knit for my husband. And so I wanted to be sure that the size range worked for lots of different scaled bodies. And I'm really excited to be making this for him. I'm also making his version. I'll pop up a picture of my version here just so you see the OG. But his version is not does not have the kind of signature cables, and we'll talk more about that in just a bit. But here it is. He decided on the blue held with black, so it's going to be a little tough to see, but I might even slip it on. I put it on, tried on tubing for him to try on this morning, actually, before once I realized I was going to be able to film. I was like, can you try this on just to make sure everything's, I mean, I've been throwing it over his head like constantly, but it's so good. I'm so happy. So the color is phenom. It is very, very, very dark navy. There you go. And you can kind of see that shoulder construction here. So the way the sweater works, and I've talked about this before, but just in case, you cast on a little back panel action, and then you knit 2 strips. Pick up and knit 2 strips down around either side of your shoulders. I call them the shoulder bands. And then you pick up for sleeves in between. And then at this point, we're just doing increases in the round like an old-fashioned raglan, just hunky-dory, going around and around. And so I'm so delighted with the fit. I did take a couple photos of him wearing it this morning. I'll also pop those in here. It looks so good on the shoulder line. It just carves out the shoulder so beautifully. And one thing that has come up that I think I might even shift in the pattern, and I want to send a note to my testers about this, I don't want to forget, is that I do think adding, right now the instructions include putting the collar on last, as do most instructions where you're adding a collar. It's kind of like one of the things to do at the end. It's like a finishing part of the garment. But I think I'm going to move that up because, first of all, being able to try it on as you go, it does shift and change when you have that collar like anchoring the piece and you understand how the garment's going to fall on your body. So there's this kind of conception loop happening. 2, I think it will give people, or I hope it might give people, more sense of authority over making a decision about their size as they go, right? So I think that could be really helpful. But I've also never seen, that done. Like, has anybody ever seen the collar instructions come kind of early? Let me know in the comments, because I do think it's helpful to have that awareness of kind of how everything's going to fall earlier, even if it doesn't mean that you make any changes on your numbers, or you're still just going to keep trucking along. Like, it will give you that sense of kind of, I know, just a better sense of understanding of how the garment's going to fit when you're done. That's my thought. Let me know in the comments what you think. So in terms of Scott's version, it does not have cables, but it does still have the pearl bump line that will go down the entire front of the sweater, which was the biggest, I do think it makes such a huge difference in the way that the sweater lands and lays on people's bodies, and one of the reasons folks are so excited about the fit. So the shoulders being super customizable and having that construction that really, I think, gives a really beautiful fit and flow. And then also the fact that you have more stitches on the back of the garment than the front of the garment, and then that front of the garment having that really the kind of flatness of the front of the garment. I am also really excited to say that people are stoked about the bust darts additions. The addition of bust darts really has, I think, made a huge difference for people in terms of, again, their comfort making the pattern and the distinction and kind of being able to find something that could fit their shoulders and fit their bust. I'm really, really happy about that as well. And yeah, I'm stoked for my guy. He like had the biggest smile on when he put this on this morning, and I think it's going to be a super, super elegant knit that he's also just going to wear the heck out of. And that's the thing I'm most excited about, is starting to see these finished objects, knowing that people are going to be wearing them in the world, that they're bringing people joy, that they're making people feel good about their bodies, that they've been able to make something that feels so again, like customized and specific to them. So I'm really pleased and really delighted with the process and with the feedback that we've gotten, and I just could not do this without my amazing testers. Thank you all so much. And thank you to everyone who applied to test. That was incredibly challenging, sifting through all of that material, because I really just wanted everyone to be able to do everything. And so please know though that I am keeping track, and I'm hopefully going to be doing this again. And if I do, I would really love to make sure I have new folks every time, because I think that makes a really big difference. Coming fresh to someone's patterns and coming with your own perspective makes a really big difference. So thank you all so much. I'm super excited. I also have been wearing mine kind of nonstop, and I feel like I need to give it a pause, because I just don't want anything to happen to it. So I should maybe even reblock it before we take more photos. But in any case, it's just been a total delight and such a growth experience for me. I've learned so much, and I do really want to do this again. We'll be talking a little bit about that in my plans section. But for now, here is sample 2 of the Curator Sweater, which is very hard to see because it is a deep navy made with one, I didn't say this, sorry, oh my gosh, one strand of the Sonder yarns Luxe Sport, or Sport Luxe, which is a phenomenal yarn, and one strand of the Sonder yarn Halo Mohair. So it has a huge amount of drape and flow to it. It's a 20 stitch gauge, and I think that makes it a super flexible pattern, which I will also talk more about in my plans, because I have some thoughts about other yarns and other kind of expressions of pattern. So that's that. And then my other whip, my kind of main squeeze, my other main squeeze is polishing off. I know, I'm sorry, I hate that I have talked about this for so many rounds, but I am finally polishing off the sleeves of my Pressed Flowers cardigan. This will be done. It will be a great thing for spring and summer. I'm just not even gonna worry about it. It's happening, it's going to be done. So I'm halfway through one of my sleeves, and it's going great. I'm trying to do one flower every couple days and just knock them off that way. I had thought about doing the button band first, and I was just like, no, that's delaying the thing that I'm actually putting off, is doing the mosaic knitting, and there's no reason to. It's so delightful once I'm in the moment with it. I think it's just, I know how long it takes, and especially with my current whips, like I can just see so much progress so fast with the Curator Sweater, because I'm in Yokeland and it's this really gushy 20 stitch gauge, and the yarn feels so good to work with. It's just like flying. So I do need to kind of make sure that I focus on this as my other whip and get it done, which I'm doing. So it's fine. It's great. My other sweater whip from last time, the Scotty sweater by Petite Knit, is in the same stage. I have not added the horizontal stripes, and I think I will probably not be working on that for a little while, and that's okay too. I'm just putting it aside, and I'll work with it when I want to work with it, because there's so much else I want to do. So, okay, that was a quick one. Quick, 2 FOs, 2 whips, keeping it simple, because here comes the plans, the dreams, the schemes. And I will say also the acquisitions. So there's a bit of that involved here. First off, let's talk more Curator Sweater samples. Because I wear it all the time, I know I need another one in a light blue, and I'm going to be doing that in Moondrake's Periwinkle. This is Pika Pika. Excuse me, I got some fluff in my mouth. This is Pika Pika, and it's merino, silk, and ramie. It has insane shine and squish and drape, and I'm very, very excited about it. This color is Periwinkle. This color is also Periwinkle. They are quite different. However, the core, this is Moondrake's Fua Fua, which I bought to make the tessellated by Andrea Mowry. So this was my fluff in that piece. It was so fun to work with, and so I had an extra, is there one or two of these? At least one full skein of this was left. So I ordered more, and I ordered the Pika Pika to go with it, I thought. And I will say that online they were much closer together than they are in person. However, the core of the Fua Fua is you can't really tell, but it's much lighter, and it's much closer to the, here, maybe I can line them up this way, and you can check it out if you're curious. So when you line them up, they're really similar, like almost spot on. The core of the Fua Fua matches almost exactly the Pika Pika. Sorry, Fua Fua Pika Pika is very cute. And I kind of feel like I'm singing a song. So I would love to make a Curator sweater in this for summertime. It will be quite airy at a 20 stitch gauge, I believe. And so I may make a size, my current version is a size 3. I may make a size 2, and yeah, that's what I'm currently thinking. So keep the gauge really light and airy. It might even have like, it won't be like holey, but it will definitely not be like a tight opaque fabric. So I really want to swatch and get going on a third version, but my second version. And this I believe I would do with the cables running all the way down the piece, which a number of my testers are doing, and I'm super excited for them. I've seen one all the way down. It looks incredible, and so I'm thinking I will do that with the blue. But I also had an idea of doing a version with no cables, so kind of like the version I'm doing for Scott, and having that be in a really rustic structured yarn. This is the Bowler's Orchard yarn that I got in, this is the Romanadale CBM sheep. I got this at Rhinebeck last year, and it's just such an incredible feeling yarn, and I would really love to see a more structured version of the sweater for fall. So maybe not something I'm going to cast on like in the next month or so, but I really want a white, like structured version of the Curator sweater. So those are the two versions I know I want for myself of the sweater as it's currently written. However, oh my gosh. So I mentioned this in, I think, my December podcast. As soon as I started writing out the Curator sweater pattern, I also was kind of overwhelmed and have a kind of whole notebook of different sweater like they're not sketches because I truly cannot draw, but kind of outlines and ideas. I mean, they are sketches, but you know what I mean. They're not for public consumption in any way, shape, or form. And one of the things, though, now that I'm on the other side of the test, that I realize, and I'm seeing how encouraged people are by the construction of this garment and the way the construction is also written seems to be landing really, really well for folks. And so I'm very curious about doing a summer version at a different gauge, and doing a t-shirt version for it. And then I really, really want to do a cardigan version. And the cardigan version, I would actually want to be at actually a larger gauge. So a cardigan that I am pulling out a lot when I'm at home is this incredible turtle dove that I made last fall. I absolutely love wearing this. It is one of the things I love about it is the drape of it, which is probably one of the things that, you know, attracted me to, or kind of had me thinking about that same sort of hand feel and fabric feel that's in the Curator sweater. It is, though, a very, very deep raglan, and it's beautiful, and I love it. And it's something that I would love to have a similar drape with a more structured shoulder as well. And so and this is a pretty darn, I would have to double check it. I should have done that beforehand. These are pretty large stitches, right? And I got that gauge because I'm holding 2 strands of the lightweight Suri alpaca from Lamb & Kid. The birdie is actually like quite light and quite thin, and even though the halo is nice, the actual core is much thinner than a lot of other fluff yarns. So I'm getting that large gauge because I'm holding 2 strands of the birdie and 1 strand of a very lightweight fingering, and I really, really like that. And I would love to do a Curator's cardigan version in something like this material. I don't know how/when that will appear. It might be something I start working out now over the summer and then do a similar time period to launch next spring, is my current thinking, because the colorwork project that I sketched out last fall is kind of front of mind for me in terms of a next garment knit. And that I still will talk about, but I still have to do some swatching for it because yarn choice has not happened for that piece yet. And I want to be really aware of what yarns I'm choosing for the colorwork motifs that I have completely sketched out. And yes, the charts are basically done for almost all sizes because I just ran away with myself and I was so excited by it. Okay, that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about the colors for that in a second. The other yarn that I acquired recently was for the Bay Area yarn crawl. I went to help my mom pick out her beautiful yarns that she's using for her Curator sweater, and we went to 3 different yarn shops. The yarn crawl for the Bay Area is kind of, it's very different than like the Rose City yarn crawl, which you really can hit every shop in like a 3-day weekend. But even as someone who lives in the Bay Area and fairly central to where a lot of the shops are, there's so many and they're so far away from each other, some of them, that I felt like it was a little too wide, and they cast a very wide net. And so I felt like for a completionist like myself, who just wants to check every box, I just had to let that go and realized I will not be checking all these boxes. So in any case, we went to 3 different shops. We had great experiences. And one of the shops that we went to was a Verb for keeping warm. And there they do a special Bay Area yarn crawl, kind of Bay Area themed color each year. And that was the inspiration for this piece. The beautiful, let me find it because it's just, here's the mohair, but you can really see it so perfectly in, yes, oh, here we go, in the floating. You can see this incredible coloration for marine layer. Oh my gosh, I just loved that so much with the flecks of international orange, just like the Golden Gate Bridge, so special. So this year, and I was not planning on buying anything at this yarn crawl at all. However, if this is the color and this is the person, it had to come home with me. This is called Ripple Effect, and it's the Bay Area Yarn Crawl 2025 color, and it's green and blue with flecks of orange. So it's me in a color. And yes, I did get the mohair to pair with it. And no, I don't know what I'm gonna make with this. I'm thinking maybe, I don't know. I truly don't know. The drape on this is also amazing, and so it's very tempting for me to say, I guess I have a third, because I don't have a super variegated Curator sweater, which would be super fun. But my first, the OG one, is that beautiful, beautiful teal, green, blue, turquoise color, and I'm not really sure I need another one that would be so similar. This could just be a big, beautiful wrap, like just a really, really simple triangle shawl wrap. I wear my fleur so often, and I think it would be really fun to have something like this. You know, just really, again, variegated, easy to use as a really eye-popping accessory. That might also mean that I wear it more, because I don't even know. Well, my the kind of sweater number, the raglan that I made with the Chelsea Yarn Co. is my most kind of speckled project, so I guess that's the most kind of variegated yarn. Anyway, I need to swatch. I don't know what I'm going to make with this, but I do know that whatever I make with this is going to be so incredibly juicy and scrummy, and I truly can't stop touching this yarn. It feels so good, and I'm really, really excited about that. So my next kind of point of conversation is about Nutiden and Nutiden Fest. I was super inspired by the gals at Knitting a Good Yarn. Jackie had the most beautiful sweater that she had made in this colorway called Morning Light, that as soon as I saw her flash it on camera, I double checked, and they actually had some in stock, and I scurried away and got it. To me, Morning Light is a beautiful poetic term for a beautiful poetic color. I absolutely love it, and I see why it's called that. But I will say that for me, the reference is definitely moonstones. There's this kind of incredible luminous light that seems to come from inside the kind of the grays with flecks and like flashes of color that happen within the yarn. And honestly, as soon as it arrived, I swatched with it, and I created a swatch based on a like random idea I had of all these different rib patterns. So the idea would be, let me see if it's visible up here. So basically the idea is that you would start with a 2x2 rib and then increase to alternating ribs where just one knit column would kind of, your eye could follow it all the way down into a half fisherman's rib and then into a basic 1x1 rib as well. And obviously the stitch counts would shift and change as you're doing increases. So the idea is really that, oh, here, that's a better angle. Sorry, the light's a little hard to share this with. There we go. So the idea is that this could be maybe like a very high neck collar, and then as you do your yoke increases, you would shift into all of these different ribbing patterns. And I have to say, it looks really, really cool. It looks really cool. I'm super into it, and the color play in this yarn, and again, that sense of kind of light emanating from it is really extraordinary. So this is something that I definitely want to play with. Grading will be interesting, exciting. And this is just one strand held single. It weighs nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. And it feels so incredibly good. So this is definitely something I'm interested in exploring a potential pattern for. And yeah, I'm not committed to when I would cast this on at the moment, but I'm really curious to see how it will kind of shift and change. So that's something that is potentially on the needles. And then when I ordered this beautiful yarn, I also went back into, it inspired me to look at my Nutiden stash and kind of put together a palette. As I mentioned, I do have I think a really fun color work chart that I have been working on and off for a few months, and that I'm excited about the possibilities and opportunities to turn into a garment knit. But I need to do quite a bit of swatching with different yarns to try to come up with the right yarn combinations to express the color work. And I'm really interested in exploring more Nutiden color work. And so this is what I kind of put together. Let me see. Some of these colors you've seen before in other projects, and some you probably have not. Sorry, this one kind of came apart a little bit, this plate. There we go. I'm going to stack them and then I'll hold them so you can see everything. And they're mostly, it's about playing with saturation levels, as you will see. And I might just put this up on top. So you can kind of see here this really, really fun palette, and then with a flash of white in between. This would be quite a summery palette, but I think it also would be really, really engrossing and engaging. And yeah, I just love it. I think it's so fun. So that's something that I'm really keen to start swatching very soon. And what else? Is that basically everything I wanted to talk about Nutiden-wise? Potential ribbed sweater, potential colorwork sweater. But I will say too that one of the fun things about this colorwork swatch is that it could depending on my color choices, it could lean quite not Christmassy, but but festive. All right, it's got a festive vibe. So I definitely want to do another version. If I were to do this super kind of more splashy, I guess I want to say. It's like a more floral, more garden palette. I would also want to make sure to do that kind of wintry vibe as well. And I know it sounds funny to be talking about in like the first days of April. So I also know that's crazy. But that's where my brain is in terms of this colorwork pattern or colorwork chart, and how it might be articulated, I guess is what I want to say. So yes, I feel like I have a lot spinning around in my head and I need to kind of land in different places. But I'm also just so thrilled and excited about the Curator Sweater. I'm so happy about it. And I'm so grateful again to my testers, my amazing tech editor who has definitely gotten some middle of the night. We're in very different time zones. She's gotten some wild emails from me, I'm sure. Because the hardest part of this process, I'm just gonna be super, super honest, is 100% wanting everyone to be having a good time. I will say I'm just so, so happy with the dynamics of the group. The energy of the group has been so amazing. We had a fantastic knit hang, which was so much fun. I can't wait to do it again. It was genuinely a good time, and I loved getting to know people and seeing the yarn choices that people had, and folks had so much interesting feedback and advice for each other, and that was just a total joy and an unexpected joy. It was one of those things I added into the test knit application with a little note. I was like, oh, this could be a fun idea, and it exceeded all my expectations. I will do one every single time, at least one, if not two, every single time I work on a pattern or have a group of testers, because it truly, I think, was a just really wonderful opportunity to connect with people. And the whole point of this is that we get to do it together. For me, that is the joy of this process, and the whole idea of making in community just shifts the whole experience so wonderfully and beautifully. And I love the solitariness in some ways of kind of the creative act, right? You're making a choice or you're making a decision, and you get to own that and hold that. And at the exact same time, you're doing it with other people, and you are in community together, and you're in a creative space together, and you understand each other's language, you understand each other's choices, and you're able to connect because of that. And I'm also just want to say, if you've made it this way through and now you're just here for the nonsense rambles, I was so incredibly touched and so moved by a lot of folks' comments on my last video, which closed with a kind of discussion and conversation about the way the world is feeling right now for most folks in the United States, and most folks who do not agree with the policies of the current administration. And the outpouring of support and the engagement really with this community was so beautiful. And I want to thank you guys again for helping to create a space together where we can keep making beautiful things and connecting to each other. So with that, I was like, I'm not going to talk about big existential things this time, but hey, that's what happens apparently. That's just me. And I'm so appreciative of you guys being here and sharing this time and space together. If you have comments, please put them below. Please be as kind to yourself as you would be your very best friend. And thank you so much for all the support for my projects. And also, thank you for putting yourselves out into the world and engaging with this community. It is a better place because you do. And with that, I'll say goodbye and be just so grateful to have my knitting and to have my community. Thanks so much, y'all. I'll talk to you later.